Good morning. Our theme for the month is sowing seeds of peace, and I thought that was so interesting because we're talking about a look at the future. And future and the peace isn't sometimes the thought of the future is what upsets our peace, isn't it? So that's exactly what we're looking at. And we began last week with taking a look at the immediate future and talking about how what I think about the immediate future can make me more or less peaceful. And we talked about how important having a vision is for the future. And I shared with you the Global Heart Vision Statement, and many people asked for a copy of that. And it is on our website, www.cslsr.org, and you can get that right there. And this week we're going beyond the immediate future. We're going to look at the bigger picture. The topic is you are immortal right now. So we're looking at life beyond this life. What happens next is the question, you might say. And that can be, a challenging topic. It can be a tender topic. And I think some of the things that may contribute to the complexity of the topic is, all of the confusion of messages we get from our religion of origin, from our culture, from superstitions, and sometimes just the fear of not knowing. In the New Design for Living, a look at the future, the chapter for this week, it articulates very beautiful. We don't have a position on life after life at the Center for Spiritual Living, but if we did, this would be it. And here's how he states it. This, talking about the life to come, this is always a very personal thing, and regardless of how much you may have read or how much you may have listened to the words of others, you will have to find within your own mind the answer that is satisfactory to you. Yeah, there it is. And when I first encountered that position, I was like, relief, thank heavens, you're not going to tell me what to believe. But at the same time, what? You're not going to tell me what to believe? And I've got questions. I mean, this is the big unknown. I need answers. I don't need another question. But that's the way of things, And the life to come is the big unknown. And the unknown can cause us to be nervous. Sometimes we can get fearful when we don't know what is coming. And I think that tendency towards fear in the presence of the unknown has been used in the history of humankind to control us. Sort of in one version or the other, if you behave a certain way now, then in the life to come you will have this and that. And then, you come to a place like this and you're invited to ask yourself, where have I been controlled like that? Right? And I think another way to control is to use the pressure to conform. Everybody in the group believes this way about the life to come, so you should too. And if you don't, it calls into question your faith and your understanding of faith, and it's not going to work out good for you. You won't fit in, at least. That's the least of it. And if you don't believe this, even though you find it irrational and unsupportable, there's something wrong with you. See, then we get invited. Where have I been controlled in this way, and is it valid? Where did I pretend to believe something that I didn't believe? I remember that growing up, asking the question to my religious educators, how do you know who's going to heaven and who isn't going to heaven? Because according to the rules that I was being taught, nobody was going to make it. And I remember the answer I received was just being stared down as if I had done something so horrible by asking the question. But what a great relief to come to metaphysics and a center like this and realize it's okay to question long-held beliefs. It's okay to wonder if it's so. It's okay to explore different answers from what everybody else believes. It's okay to not know. It's okay to be ambivalent. It's okay to not want to question. And it's okay to change your mind when you discover something new or the wind changes. And it's okay to not know any answer and to realize that no harm will come to you for exercising this beautiful curiosity that is your mind. And there are some curiosities in our mind and some great tendernesses, great tender questions that come up in this consideration of the life to come. One that comes my way, and I've asked it myself. Will I see my loved ones again? And when I pass on, will I be reunited with the people, and will I recognize them? Well, to answer that question, I have to set the scene first. I want to read to you something that comes, and to those of you who have taken the Beyond Limits class, it will be familiar to you because it's from the curriculum of that class, which is starting again early next year. It's by John Hefferlin, a very popular, beloved minister of our faith tradition. And it's called Dimensions of Life Beyond Life. And it goes like this. I cannot possibly tell you what God is. But if you will allow me, I can share with you what God means to me. Try, if you will, to imagine the most beautiful and perfect tiny baby you have ever seen, only a few days before birth, still in the womb, and imagine that you can somehow communicate with this little one, and you ask the question, what is your world like? Listen carefully and you hear, my world is wonderful here. I'm snug and cozy and warm. I'm surrounded with love, and my every need is provided for even before the need exists. I hope I can stay here forever. Now you ask another question. Where is your mother? What does she look like? You can almost imagine the little facial expression changing to one of quandary. Listen again and you hear, my mother? I don't know what you're talking about. What is a mother? Do I have one? You smile to yourself as you realize this little one cannot possibly know anything about her mother until after she is born. And she learns of the parent-child relationship, and yet she will never be any closer to her mother than she is right now, since she lives and moves and has her being within her own mother. This is very much like my concept of God. We live and move and have our being in God, yet we know sometimes very little more about God than does the unborn baby know about its own mother. Then, although living in a world of comparative darkness where the horizon is limited to the womb, the baby is suddenly filled with but one extremely urgent and miraculous desire: to reach out for broader horizons, and thus the time for birth arrives and the child is born. Where does the baby go when it is born? It doesn't go anywhere, since it is already here. And yet, a whole new universe has come into being where the horizon is ever expanding. What is birth then? Well, beyond the biological and physical experience of being ejected from the womb, birth is the transition of consciousness as the baby passes from its seemingly one-dimensional world in the womb out into this world of many dimensions. And following birth, this little one grows through infancy and childhood and adolescence and finally reaches maturity, taking its place in the world of adults. And then, eventually, death comes, for whatever reason, but it comes. And it is now that we face the most significant questions of our existence. What is life? Well, We may say life is the manifestation of the vital forces of God, individualized as us. 2, what is death? Death is the passing beyond this dimensional world into other worlds of other dimensions in this ever-expanding universe. We die, but we live. 3, what happens when the individual passes through death? Just as the unborn baby must pass through the process of birth so that life shall continue, the individual too passes through death for exactly the same reason, for life. Where do you go when you die? We don't go anywhere, since we are already here. Now, this has helped me tremendously with the question, where will I go? Keeping in mind that every person's answer is individual. There's no one size fits all, and we don't have any conversion mission, and nobody has to believe the same thing. But for me, this is wonderful. And I like to begin finding my answer now by asking a different question. Instead of asking the question, where will I go when I die? Now I ask this: where did I come from before I was born? Where was I? See, because to me, eternal means the continuity of things in every direction, not just from now forward. Where was I? See, to me, as I learn, I am encountering this idea that life didn't begin, not with the Big Bang, before that, and before that, and before that, like we heard in the song. The always present. And I like to think that is what we are made of. Beginningless, endless stuff. The stuff we are made of is always present. And I like to think, and maybe you do too, that I did not start this existence at conception. No, I'm made of that which is always present. It's just the case that I don't seem to be able to remember where I was. And I don't remember who I was with. Or do I? You see, so when I'm thinking of what is to come, I don't know if I will remember this here and now of this earth. I don't know if I will recognize anyone that I've been with any better than I do now recognize. And yet, to be honest, I have this sense from time to time that I recognize some of you. As if I remember you. Like we have always been together. It's like it's a reunion. Where does the baby go when it's born? It doesn't go anywhere since it's already here. So the question, will I be with my loved ones when I die? Well, I have a new question that I prefer to ask. It's this: who do you think you are with right now? Where do you think you are right now? See, to me, it appears that we are each other's brothers and sisters and grandparents and fathers and partners and friends and enemies. Past, present, future, forever and ever together. I mean, haven't you met people who you feel like you know and always have? I mean, haven't you met people that you have incomplete business with and always will? Just look around. Here we are. Or haven't you met somebody that you love before they say their first hello? No? So I don't ask, will I see you again in the next life? I prefer to say now, while I can see you now, I don't want to miss not 1 second, because it's so very, very beautiful. Will I recognize you? Well, based on what I experience now, I think I can trust my heart better than I can trust my eyes. I can trust my heart to recognize something that I love, but not so much my eyes, because the outer form is changing all the time. And I can trust my heart to love something that I love. And in the cases where I don't yet love, I'm learning to use this time in this life to do better. Because I think it's all about right here, right now. That's what eternal means. You know that old billboard, it's such a cliche, but I never get tired of it. The present moment is a gift from God. That's why it's called the present. But sometimes I notice I don't receive the gift. I'm not available for the gift because I'm busy. I'm rushing towards something or away from something, dwelling in any other land but the one where the eternal presence is available, reaching for an imagined preferred future, or compulsively living through the memories of how it used to be, when instead it's always and always has only ever been about right here and right now. It's all there is. So I'm learning some options. I can continue to let the past define me, or I can continue to reach for the promise of the future, let that captivate me, or I can honor and recognize the present moment is the gift and let it in. And when I do that, it's like I can let myself remember more of you more clearly. Or maybe I can practice it like this. I can be in the present moment to let myself meet you more dearly, so that when I do encounter you again, I'll do better at remembering. But we rush. Another favorite study from Washington, D.C., the zoo, where they stopped and watched how long people looked at an exhibit, an animal exhibit, and they timed it. And their average stay at an exhibit was how long? How many seconds? 5. You might as well just look at the National Geographic. And the researcher says that's probably the explanation for why people think that a hippopotamus can hold its breath so long. They just don't stick around to see. They want to stick around to see if I know you. I think I do. Or as our founder says, Ernest Holmes, if we were to attempt to put a finger on any period of time, it would be gone before we could point to it. For yesterday is gone and tomorrow has not come, and today is rapidly slipping past. So now is the world we are looking for. Now is the word that describes your immortality. And now is not a moment that you can find and you can't start it and you can't end it. It's an experience. It's a feeling of witnessing, of being present, of watching, of noticing, of seeing. It's a feeling of recognizing. That's what it is. That's what now is. And it's an experience that eludes us if we rush. And oh, rush. This is the season for rush, right? The holiday season. Messages everywhere to acquire, to have things, to have experiences, to be with people so that we can jam the present moment filled up with stuff, this empty, useless moment, fill it up with stuff so it can mean something. Just the opposite. Take it all out. Take everything out and there's the meaning. Get rid of it. Right? As if you and I, through our purchases or preferences, can make eternity any better than it is. So I invite you to think about that as you leave today. What can you possibly add to any moment to make it any more beautiful for you than it is? And to try and remember that as you engage in the busyness of the season, because then you can love the busyness for what it is. It's not your meaning, it's just busyness, it's an option. Yeah. And then you can ask yourself, as I am going to be exposed to it, am I going to drop into it? Am I going to be controlled by it? Am I going to believe it? Or can I accept the gift of the moment as it is and find in each moment the possibility maybe to have a deep, slow listening to somebody you know. And in that listening to see, do I remember this person? See, what if the very thing, the very experience, the very person you are seeking is already right here? That would make a Merry Christmas. Let us pray. There's only one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is everywhere present, in and through all things. Eternal, endless, beginningless, above, below, inside, outside, everywhere, everywhere, all of the time. And it is that from which we are made of eternal stuff. Sinking into this awareness then, feeling the burden lessening and the lightness in our hearts and the clarity in our minds, we pray this prayer of joy to the world. We declare in our hearts we are home, not just for the holidays, but forever and ever and ever, world without end. And in so doing, the clarity and light, the wisdom and revelation of being emerges. In deepest gratitude for this moment of prayer and the blessing of those who journey with us, I do give thanks. And so it is.